What is going on, y'all, and welcome to week 2 of the competition prep vlog for 2023. So the last vlog was the start of phase 1. Basically, I used that to establish my baseline, talked about my stats, I talked about my body fat, my measurements, the DEXA scan, all of that good stuff. And phase 1 of my prep protocol is basically establishing that baseline, using those metrics to determine initial starting macros, figuring out what foods you're going to use to target those macros, etc., etc. So all good stuff there. This week, we are basically, once you establish your starting point with phase 1, you start immediately transitioning to phase 2 pretty much. Some people may spend a week or two in phase 1 to let their body stabilize, but with me, I know my body very well. I let it stabilize, and I'm able to kind of figure out where I'm at pretty effortlessly. So I'm going to go ahead and transition to phase 2, which is finding your protein threshold. So with that, over the next several weeks, I'm going to be gradually titrating my dietary fat down and increasing my protein bit by bit. So with that said, let's dive into some of the macro manipulations that I'm making here. If we look at the computer, you've got my weight here that is tracking daily. Started at 182.1 for the prep. I'm at 178.2 as of the morning of the 17th, but I was gone these days. I did not have my bathroom scale to step on, but you can see that everything is trending down via this trend line here, so all is well there. With the macros, like I said, we're titrating the fat down slowly and increasing the protein gradually, so the starting macros were 265, 130, 20. This week's macros, I'm at 255, 135, 15. So basically dropping the dietary fat by 10 grams and increasing the dietary protein by 5 grams. So that's kind of what I'm doing there from a manipulation standpoint. So just to kind of show you what type of manipulations you can make to achieve that 10-gram drop in dietary fat and 5-gram increase in protein. Here we are with the dashboard of My Macros Plus, which is again the dashboard that I use, the software I use for tracking macros. What I did to accomplish that was I took away the MCT oil. If you go back to the prior week, this is my starting week macros. So this is when I had the MCT oil in and I had 6 tablespoons of heavy cream. So to make some of these changes, I'm literally just dropping off that MCT oil and kind of tweaking things a little bit with the foods I'm consuming. But what I've accomplished there is basically dropping that fat total from 265 to 255, and then the protein, I'm getting closer to that 135 target. So again, don't overthink these food manipulations. This is almost the exact same meal plan as I was doing the week prior. I haven't grown tired of it yet, and because I'm not introducing more variety, I'm able to control for all those variables and really fine-tune and see what my body's responding well to. So again, very minor changes with the macros, dropping 10 grams of fat, increasing 5 grams of protein, but by keeping the meal choices pretty much the same, and then just, adding, subtracting a tablespoon of heavy cream, adding, subtracting an egg, something as simple like that, you can really hone in and figure out how your body's responding to those macros without near as much variability from what you would get if you were adding all different types of foods every single day. So that is key there. Also, kind of the main topic I want to get into with this particular Vlog 2 prep update, I got all my blood work back. So here we are in Heads Up Health. And if we go to lab results, this is where I track all of this is pretty much like the summation of all my different trackers, my Garmin watch, my Oura ring, my macro tracker, my scale, like all that gets synced up with Heads Up Health. So here are cholesterol panels, blood markers over time. I have not inputted my most recent lab results from April 3rd when I had those labs drawn, which was day 1 of the prep. So a very good time to get those labs drawn. But these are my numbers prior to that point. So total cholesterol, the last time I got them was apparently in 2020. So total cholesterol of 380, HDL cholesterol, last one was 138, LDL cholesterol was 192, and trigs were 79. So you've also got that most recent here. VLDL was 12, non-HDL cholesterol, 242. So you can kind of see what those are looking like now. Here are the most recent labs, and I have not put these into Heads Up Health yet, but I will do that, so it's all going to be in one spot, but I kind of want to show you what we've got here. So let's go ahead and look at the lipid profile. We have the LDLP, we have the LDLC, we have HDL of 80, so quite a bit above that 39 reference range there. Trigs were 51. Total cholesterol is 197, so I believe that was a drop. Yeah, a drop from my total cholesterol back then of 380. So, again, the whole lipid profile thing, there's a lot of debate as to what the ideal range is, but it being shown as slightly elevated, I'm not really concerning myself too much with that. And again, trigs 51. So I feel pretty good about the cholesterol markers there. Now, let's see what else we've got. They changed the way this is laid out. I like it, but I haven't gotten used to it yet. So let's just see kind of what some of my other numbers were. We've got hemoglobin, we've got red cell distribution width, we've got all of these. I'm trying to find some relevant markers for y'all here as it pertains to the prep, particularly hormones. Here we go, metabolic panel. The last glucose I got was 88, and that was way back in 2019. Obviously, I check it pretty regularly via just a simple glucometer, but let's kind of see what my metabolic panel is here. So glucose 88, so pretty much the same thing there. Creatinine was a little high according to what they like to see at 1.33. Again, nothing really too concerning from the metabolic panel. The main thing I want to dive into is the hormone panel. So let's scroll down to prior tests there and find that. All right, so let's talk about C-reactive protein a little bit. C-reactive protein is a marker for inflammation over time. Again, this test was done quite a ways back in 2019. I was 0.3 here. I did get a C-reactive protein test on April 3rd, and that was the value of less than 1. So you want it to be between 0 and 10. My value was less than 1. So again, feel pretty good about that as an inflammation marker. Obviously pretty low there. Now let's find the hormone panel here. In this, all right, here we go. All right, so we have sex hormone binding globulin. That's a funny word to say. Of 75 as my latest test here. So 75. And then with the most recent test, I had 52.8. So that is a drop there, which is good. This reference range shows between 16.5 and 55.9. And I'm going to talk more about sex hormone binding globulin, but I want to show some total testosterone here as well. So this total testosterone, the latest one I got was 436, which is not stellar by any means. That was during a very stressful time when I got 0 sleep. So it was interesting how much sleep affects total testosterone, free testosterone. If you're not sleeping, if you're chronically stressed, which I definitely was at this point, that was when we were bought the building, we're renovating the building, had all the pandemic stuff in addition to renovating the building. I literally was going days without sleep, and that's when I got that panel done. And yeah, it was not a good reflection of health by any means. But my most recent testosterone panel, let's go to that here. So the one that I just did on April 3rd, at the very beginning of this prep, total testosterone is 537.2 with a reference range of 246 to 916. So kind of middle of the road, which is, again, I don't really want to operate in the middle of the road. I don't want to be average. I want to be exceptional. So that is not great. And again, probably stress and lack of sleep with the business has had that number kind of down regulated, but that is up from what it was previously. So that is good. Now, talking about testosterone, you can have a great total testosterone, but if your free testosterone is low, then you're missing out big time. So you have to be mindful of free testosterone. So I don't know if I had free testosterone here or not. Okay, here we go. Free testosterone. This is a different reference range, so this is going to be kind of confusing, but this was based off of, I'm not sure what the reference range here is here, so it's kind of not really comparing apples to apples. But with my free test on this latest panel, I got 8 with a reference range of 8.7 to 25. So low free testosterone. The reason my free testosterone is low relative to, my reference range for total being kind of middle of the pack, this being on the low side, is because my sex hormone binding globulin is on the high end. So going back to that sex hormone binding globulin test, it is, again, the reference range of 16.5 to 55.9. Mine's 52.8. So mine's on the high end there. Sex hormone binding globulin binds to those total testosterones. So total testosterone hormones. So basically you have less free test that's going to be able to be received by your body, make its way into the cell, and be effective because you have more sex hormone binding globulin. That is not good. So you want to try and, you don't want to minimize sex hormone binding globulin because you want to have a healthy base there as well. You don't want to operate on either extremes when it comes to hormones. You don't want to be too low. You don't want to be too high. There's like a Goldilocks phase there. So my sex hormone binding globulin is a little higher than I would like it to be. So in order to try and fix that, you can work on your sleep, work on your recovery, train is key, make sure your nutrition is dialed in, and then remove some excess stress in your life. And then honestly remove a bunch of xenoestrogens. So if you are taking in a bunch of xenoestrogens, plastics, things of that nature, those are all going to be estrogenic in effect. So xenoestrogens, phytoestrogens, that can make you have more estrogen floating around, which is going to inhibit your free testosterone as well. So you want to drop that sex hormone binding globulin a bit. I'm not an expert on hormones. This is going to be something like Anthony J's territory here, but I know that my sex hormone binding globulin is higher than I would like it to be, so I'm trying to find natural remedies to correct course there. One of which is I just purchased this LJ100 Tonggat LE. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This is basically 100 milligram capsules of pure Tongat LE supplement. It also goes by Long Jack is another name for this stuff, but it says here, Eurocoma longfolia root extract, 100 milligrams, 22% bioactive uropeptides, 40% glycosaponins. Probably mispronouncing all that stuff. But this is a natural herb. I looked it up. It's a root, basically, and some people have found tremendous success with this, improving their testosterone naturally. I think Huberman just did a podcast talking about it, so check that out if you're interested. I haven't listened to that one yet, but that, making sure you're taking in enough boron is going to help. But when it comes to natural bodybuilding, the list of banned substances is daunting. Like if you go to WNBF's website and look at their banned substance list, like it's just tremendously long. So I've got like PTSD, any supplement that I'm taking, trying to make sure that it's not on that banned list, because the last thing I want to do is take something, insignificant and then find out too late that it's banned and then me not be able to compete. So I did email the promoter of the show. He said that this herb is totally fine. It is not on the banned substance list, and it's 100% natural. It's literally just a root that's been ground up from an herb plant. So not really tripping on that. I'm going to try that, supplementing 1 or 2 pills a day every single day for the next few months, and then compare that, get another lab drawn in 3 months or so, and see how, if any, effect has been made. So that's my plan there. I'll do another podcast or another video specifically on other supplements I'm taking. It's pretty minimal, but I'll go ahead and do a video on that. But I wanted to go ahead and give you all this rundown of my macronutrient changes as it pertains to now going into phase 2, finding my protein threshold, and as it pertains to my blood work, because that's kind of preliminary data that I want y'all to have as well. And then when I do next vlog, I'm probably going to do some updated pictures, measurements, all that good stuff. When it comes to how I feel so far, 2 weeks in, I can absolutely tell that I'm a little bit hungrier. So didn't expect to feel any sensation of hunger at all this early on, but I can tell that I am eating less than I was, and my hunger is upregulated a little bit. I can also tell that I'm getting leaner, surprisingly. You wouldn't think that I'd be able to see much difference after just a week or two, but I can tell a little bit more definition in my obliques, and I'll probably do some updated posing footage for y'all in the next video so you'll be able to see those changes as well. So thank you for tuning in. This was week 2 of the 2023 prep vlog series. So thank y'all for following along. See you next time.